A family's mother has an invisible childhood friend who only exists in the dark, and now that friend is determined to keep her kids from ever leaving her. We open at night inside a mannequin factory where Paul is working late amid the eerie silence of the empty warehouse when his son Martin calls, worried that his mother Sophie has been talking to herself again. Paul reassures him everything's fine and that she'll bounce back soon, while his trusted assistant Esther locks up the warehouse and repeatedly spots a shadowy figure at the back of the room that vanishes each time she flips the lights back on, testing it again and again with the same unsettling result, until, on her fifth attempt, it finally appears closer than before, unsettled enough to warn Paul on her way out and remind him to be careful. Left alone, Paul eventually comes face to face with the same figure himself, a hunched, wild-haired silhouette that only exists in darkness and flees the moment lights come on, its form growing taller and more menacing the closer it gets. Chased and injured, with a deep gash he can't explain, he locks himself in his office with a bat for protection. But the entity forces its way in anyway, despite his best efforts to hold the door, and Paul is violently dragged into the shadows amid horrifying crunching sounds. His lifeless, bloodied body later found beneath a light outside. Days later, we meet Paul's stepdaughter Rebecca, spending an intimate night with her boyfriend Brett before sending him off with plans to meet again tomorrow.
Don't think you're staying.
Just one night.
Nope.
You kicked me out in the middle of the night.
Meanwhile, her younger half-brother Martin overhears their mother Sophie having a tense conversation with seemingly no one in her room, catching a glimpse of a mysterious hand near the doorway before fleeing back to his own room. In fear that night, his door handle rattles ominously in the dark as the lights outside flicker and die. The next day at school, an exhausted Martin, having repeatedly fallen asleep in class, gets picked up by Rebecca after the nurse can't reach Sophie. There, Rebecca meets Emma from Child Protective Services, who questions her about the situation at home and how Martin's been doing. Though Rebecca admits she doesn't actually live there anymore, having distanced herself from her mother's increasingly strange behavior ever since her own father left years earlier. Privately, Martin tells Rebecca that Sophie has been talking to someone named Diana.
Her name's Diana.
And Rebecca gently explains that Diana isn't real, just a figment of their mother's imagination she's dealt with since her own childhood.
Because she isn't real.
Unaware someone is secretly watching them through a nearby window. Back at the house, Sophie greets them warily, and a tense argument breaks out between mother and daughter over Sophie skipping her antidepressants. Meanwhile, Martin quietly packs his things, and Rebecca ultimately decides to take him to stay with her for a few days, despite Sophie's tearful pleas. Once at her apartment, Martin unpacks his flashlight, first testing that it works properly, while Brett questions whether Rebecca's decision is genuinely about Martin's well-being or rooted in old resentment toward their mother, prompting her to ask him to leave that night. While brushing Martin's hair with gentle affection, he innocently asks if their mother is crazy, and by extension, whether they are too.
If Mom's crazy,
Rebecca reassures him they aren't defined by her struggles. Later, she wakes to find Martin missing from bed, and after hearing a faint scratching noise, spots the same hunched, long-haired figure crouched near the door, its form appearing and disappearing with the flickering light. She manages to scare it off by flipping the switch, only to find Martin safely asleep in the bathtub, clutching his still-lit flashlight tightly. The next morning, Emma returns to inform Rebecca that taking Martin without legal custody isn't allowed, forcing her to hand him back over.
He can't stay here. To get Martin from her custody requires you to file charges against her.
Left alone, Rebecca notices a crude drawing and the name Diana scrawled on the floor, exactly where she saw the creature the night before, triggering a flood of memories from her own childhood. A vanished sketchbook that mysteriously reappeared with an extra family member added to her drawing, labeled Diana. Determined to get answers, Rebecca and a now reconciled Brett head to her mother's house while Sophie is out, splitting up to search inside her old family office. She finds a childhood photo tucked away, showing two small girls standing side by side with the names Diana and Sophie written on the back, confirming the two knew each other since childhood. Digging through a dusty box of old documents and a tape tucked in a forgotten corner, she discovers Sophie was once admitted to a mental hospital as a child, where she'd befriended a girl named Diana, suffering from a rare skin condition that kept her confined to darkness, ultimately dying during an experimental experimental, light-based treatment gone wrong. Hearing a scratching noise, Rebecca follows it while Brett waits nervously downstairs, unknowingly saving his own life by getting up to open the curtains just as Diana lurks behind him upstairs. Rebecca finds her old bedroom and the same altered drawing from years ago, right before the door slams shut and plunges her into darkness, screaming for help. She's lifted and choked by an unseen force that whispers she won't be sent away again, until Brett forces the door open and floods the room with light, freeing her just as Sophie is due back, prompting the pair to flee with the box of evidence. Meanwhile, Sophie and Martin return home on seemingly good terms.
I know I've been a little distant lately, and I really want to fix that.
Though she admits without saying so directly that she still hasn't taken her medication that evening. During movie night, Sophie suddenly turns off the lights despite Martin's protests.
Mom, please let go.
And Diana appears, attacking him until Sophie shields her son and becomes the target instead, giving Martin the chance to flee straight to Rebecca's apartment. Back with Rebecca and Brett, Martin recounts what happened, and to his relief, Rebecca believes him completely, explaining that Diana had manipulated Sophie in the psychiatric hospital by pretending to be her friend when she was actually the opposite entirely. A mysterious knock at the door reveals no one outside, followed by scratching from the closet, which turns out empty, only for Diana to suddenly grab Martin from beneath the bed instead, forcing Rebecca to fight to pull him free. That night, the group visits Sophie together, hoping to reason with her, but she refuses to accept Diana's death, insisting she's real and that these things can be faked before storming off. Frustrated, Rebecca prepares to leave for good and calls CPS in the morning, but Martin's unwavering loyalty to their mother, insisting she's still their mother despite everything, convinces the group to stay the night instead, lighting candles and bulbs throughout the house for protection before Rebecca checks on Sophie. She thanks her daughter with strange, desperate urgency and secretly slips her a note reading, "I need help," though Sophie's expired medication leaves them with no real solution to fall back on. As everyone settles in, the entire house suddenly goes dark, and Rebecca discovers Brett has gone outside to investigate the outage, leaving her to head into the basement alone to check the fuse box. Upstairs, Martin wakes to find himself alone and is quickly cornered by Diana, only managing to escape using a candle's flame before fleeing to find Rebecca in the basement, only to discover Diana has sealed them both inside together. Brett, hearing their cries, rushes back in, but comes face to face with Diana himself, using his phone's flashlight to fend her off and force her to recoil before narrowly escaping to his car and triggering the alarm to flash the headlights, driving her back. Entirely panicked and adrenaline-fueled, he flees the property in a screech of tires, leaving Rebecca and Martin to fend for themselves and search the basement for more sources of light. Upstairs, Sophie finally wakes and confronts Diana directly, warning her to stay away from her children.
I told you not to hurt my children! Do not threaten me, Diana.
Only to be violently attacked before she can reach her medication. Back in the basement, Martin finds an old, ultraviolet light, though it proves completely ineffective against Diana when she reappears, cornering Rebecca as she reaches for a shovel. Martin manages to blind Diana's grip with a flash of light, just in time to save her, and the two retreat toward the furnace's glow. When even that light goes out, the pair scream for help, just as Brett returns outside with police officers in tow, urging them to keep their flashlights on while they search inside. The officers eventually locate Rebecca and Martin in the basement, but Diana kills one of them almost instantly, and Rebecca's warnings about light proving nearly useless don't save the second officer either. Grabbing a fallen flashlight to hold Diana at bay, Rebecca gets the children moving toward Brett at the door, but Martin refuses to leave without their mother, prompting Rebecca to hand him off and head back inside. Alone, armed with both the UV light and a flashlight to find Sophie upstairs, Diana ambushes her from behind, and Rebecca manages to trap her arm in a doorframe, scorching her hand with searing light before being violently thrown from the second-floor balcony in retaliation for the pain. Still alive despite the fall, Rebecca watches as Diana descends the stairs for another attack, only for Sophie to finally intervene, confronting the entity head-on with a gun. Despite Rebecca's desperate pleas from below, Sophie turns the weapon on her instead, sternly declaring there is no Diana without Sophie, and pulls the trigger. Her sacrifice instantly banishes Diana into nothingness for good, though it costs Sophie her own life, leaving a devastated Rebecca cradling her mother's lifeless body in her arms. In the aftermath, Rebecca, Martin, and Brett comfort each other, finally free of the darkness that haunted their family, and promise to stay together for good, moving forward. Closing the story there,